Together, we empower local spiritual development and educate Native American seminary students to serve God faithfully. This is the Native American Ministries Sunday podcast. Thanks for listening in.
Hey everybody, welcome to the podcast. My name's Rich. So glad that you've decided to spend some time with us today. I know there's lots of other things you could be doing right now, but we're so fortunate that you've taken some time to tune in today. We're going to be in for a real treat today. We've got Master Divinity student Christy Oxendine with us today. Welcome, Christy, to the show.
Hello.
Now,
thank you.
I wish you could hear our pre-interview because we talked to people a little bit ahead of time and said, well, what are we going to talk about? And then there was about 10 things we could talk about. So why don't you tell us a little bit about where you're at school and what you're studying today?
Well, I'm at Candler School of Theology, which is at Emory University, down in Atlanta, Georgia. Mm-hmm. So this is new for me, being a metropolitan area. Okay. I'm studying Masters of Divinity. I'm actually halfway through my program, so I start my fourth. Yes, I'm excited about that. So I start my fourth semester January 13th. And that's what I've been up to, and I'm also working on a certificate in women in theology and ministry. So that's been a kind of a focus for me.
Nice. Now, where did you grow up? What's your kind of background?
I grew up, born and raised in Lumberton, North Carolina. Nice. So that's southeast. A lot of people know south of the border. People come through the beach to go that way.
Yes.
So that's where I was born and raised until I was 18. Mm-hmm. I went to the same church, Brayton Street, United Methodist Church. And then I went off to college at East Carolina University. So,
very cool.
Yeah. Nice. So all my family's still there, and I still like to go back and visit.
Now, tell us about, you're currently the president of the women's board there. Is that what that's what's called? Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, it's the Candler Women's Group. We have different organizations at Candler, and that particularly is just to support. Candler Women is specifically for women, so a time for women to come together and have different programs. This year, my exec board and we've decided to do a mind, body, spirit theme. So each meeting has its, it kind of has a theme, and we always do a door prize. We've done tea and candles, and our first one that everybody really liked was it's kind of a spa kit from Thistle Farms, which is really close to us at Candler. So that's what we've been working on. We'll be planning the Women's Month celebrations in March, so we're looking forward to that in the coming semester as well. But really just a way for us to support the women at Candler.
Nice. Now, you've also, while you've been studying, you also have, kind of a student ministry opportunity. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that? I was thrilled or intrigued to hear more about that. Well, last year I served as a student pastor. This year I'm actually working as a partnership director. There's two churches. There's a large church in Midtown. It's a majority white congregation, and then we have a smaller church in Decatur, which is kind of the southeast side. There is a smaller African American church, and the two have a partnership that's actually in their 12th year. And so as a director, I work with them. They have 4 subcommittees, which is a criminal justice committee. They have the refugee resettlement committee, the Presbyterian women, and then they actually do an international mission in Jamaica. So the two churches, both of them have a chair for each committee. So my job is kind of just to make sure that every committee knows what's going on. So, and like I talked about before, it's been good because we talk about in the UMC church about collaboration. So it's really been good to see how these two churches are coming together for their collaboration. And the fact that it's been going on for 12 years. And I feel like collaboration we just started talking about that over the last 2 or 3 years. So they're kind of progressive, I would say. Absolutely.
And kind of their model of what they're doing.
Yeah, I was amazed when I heard it's been going on so long. Like you say, it seems like that's a new hip topic.
Right.
What's working there? How have they been able to sustain kind of that partnership over those 12 years?
I think the biggest thing is they've had a full-time staff. I think that's really been, they've had someone working 40 hours a week. The previous person is actually my supervisor now. She moved up as the associate pastor at the large Midtown church, but spending time at both congregations. So the biggest thing is letting people see the staff member. So, being at church, being at meetings, that's been the biggest thing. So you can talk it up really, and then you can talk it
up to the administration at both churches, but then also talk it up to the members at both churches. So I think that's been the best part of it. So that's been what's been helpful.
Yeah, that's encouraging to see. It's encouraging to see, and where there can be division between a lot of different groups, to see people working together. That's super encouraging. Now, you've also done some work in a prison as well, right? What do you tell us a little bit about that?
Sure. I always like talking about that. It always probably sounds strange for people, but that's been
like going to prison.
Right. I'm going to prison. I was there every Friday for 12 weeks. So, but that's probably been that has been the highlight of my seminary experience. There's 3 seminaries here: Candler, ITC, and McAfee, that in 2008, I do believe it was, they came together and decided to start a certificate of theological studies for the women. It started at Metro Transition Center, but that closed down, and then they've moved to Lee Arrendale Women's Prison, which is in Alto, Georgia. But essentially, the women start in biblical foundations. It's a year-long program. Their first semester, or quarter, they call it. Their first quarter, they take the biblical foundation. So they're taking New Testament, Old Testament, all in the course of 12 weeks.
Oh, my goodness. Wow.
Yes. Yeah.
That's a lot packed in.
So they take that, and they take a research class. And then there's second and third quarters, they can take elective classes. So we as students get to teach those elective classes. So I taught a spiritual practices class. I wanted to talk with the women about ministry. And a lot of them kind of confirmed what I was already thinking. A lot of them, when you think about ministry, they think about the pastor in the pulpit or somebody who's, on a formal church staff. But as they talked about, one lady, she works in the cosmetology. She does people's hair. As she talked about, that's ministry. There's women who do small group Bible studies. There's women who, they just give encouragement and things like that. So all of them realize that in some way they're in ministry. They're, they're not in a formal church setting. They're like, oh, I don't want to be a pastor, so I'm not in ministry. But realizing that every interaction they have with people is ministry. So we kind of talked about that. We spent time talking about that probably the first 2 or 3 weeks. And then from there, we just got into practices: centering prayer, meditation, journaling. We talked about Lectio Divina. And we just spent some time on how they could see God in their everyday life. So that was really exciting to kind of see them kind of morph what they thought about ministry, and how they are in ministry in their own life. And a lot of them, since they're in this theological program, they are seen as leaders. So I wanted them to have those practices, because what I've learned in seminary is you have to be intentional about your own practices. So we're, as I'm preparing to be a pastor, so I'm going to take on others, I guess, spiritual development, but I have to have my own spiritual development as well. And that's the message I wanted to get to them is, how are you developing? You're giving, but how are you giving to yourself as well? So
absolutely. Now, how did you grow? How did your own faith grow through that experience? I imagine that would be a fairly stretching experience.
Right. I think, the reason I did it is because I realized probably in my first year in seminary, I didn't have those things in place. And I heard someone say, she's actually the author of the Conscious Child. So she's like a parenting author. And she said, we write and we teach about things we still need to learn. So for me, it was almost in a selfish sense, because I know that I needed to be reminded of these things. So for me, teaching this class helped also remind me. And then the women are telling me all these great things that they're doing, and so it really helped me with my growth to say, yes, I need to be instilling these things in my life as well. So it was really just a reminder for me that I need to be doing those things, and as I'm working with them, that I'm also doing those same things in my own life, because not only am I working at my church and I'm the president of my organization, but I'm also the teacher for these ladies. So I need to have all of those things in place myself, So it was a good reminder for me.
Absolutely. Well, that's so encouraging. Well, why don't we, we're obviously the podcast is all about Native American Ministries Sunday. There may be churches that are listening in today that there maybe don't participate in Native American Ministries Sunday, or, they're not involved. What would you say to them to say, hey, maybe you should get involved? Obviously, today we've been talking with a student who is doing all kinds of incredible things, which is just one example of how your participation in this important Sunday in our church calendar, how it is, benefiting and really growing and stretching folks. But what would you say to a church that's maybe not participating or is hesitating, wondering whether they should participate?
Mm-hmm. Well, I think the biggest thing is just not a lot of individuals are exposed to Native American ministries or Native American individuals, for that matter. I think I met a first year who's a Native American student. So I think, but it's just the two of us out of over 500 students. So just the exposure for other people is important, but then also the things that we get to do, because I can't say that I would be in seminary if I didn't have this scholarship. So, and as you can see, I've been able to do a variety of things and touch a variety of people, and those people are touching me as well. They're going to make a big impact on my life. So I would just say, if people are thinking about it or hesitant about it, that just think about the exposure that we get as students, but then what we are able to give to others, because we're able to, celebrate our culture and let people know about things that are going on. And all of us have different stories. Any Native American student that you meet that's in seminary is not going to have the same story. So I think that's the beautiful thing about it, is we get the opportunity to be in school and we get to do extra things because we're not working 20, 40 hours a week to help us live. Atlanta's expensive. Use me as an example.
Exactly.
So it's really, it's a blessing to have the opportunity and to share my life with other people, but also get that back from other people to be able to share their life with them as well.
Nice. Thank you so much for that, Christy. Now, why did you pick the school you were at? Why did you pick the seminary? There's a lot of seminaries you could have went to. Why did you end up where you've ended up?
I visited 3 schools. I really like the social justice aspect that Candler has. We, in all of our social settings, the first year at Candler, you actually have to pick a social setting, and I had picked the prison, and I would have been at the prison every week, but then I took a teaching parish job, so I was a pastor, but I still ended up going to the prison every other week. So I still had that exposure, but everyone's in a different social setting. So if some people are working with refugees, some are working at the prison, some are working at, I've actually been able to visit this site, but it's a church that works with mentally disabled individuals. That's their whole congregation. So it's a beautiful place. So we have students working there. But I like that social aspect. And so, even the things about Ferguson, we're having conversations about that and moving forward. I think one of the most profound things I've had is Candler participated in a die-in, and so we have this protest. But the beautiful thing is you look around and you see students, you see graduate students, undergraduates, and I saw my professors at Candler. So that really... professors and staff members, that really meant a lot, that we're all in this together. So, and I appreciate that even more now. So I think it's the social justice and not just doing it, but talking about it and discussing how we can move forward even when we leave Candler. So that's been important for me.
Absolutely. Well, Christy, I really appreciate you being on the show today, for taking time out. I know you're obviously a busy student and you're doing a lot of things, so I'm just so thankful that you've taken some time to be with us today.
All right. Thank you so much.
Thanks so much.
Together, we empower local spiritual development and educate Native American seminary students to serve God faithfully. This is the Native American Ministries Sunday podcast. Thanks for listening in.